everybody! Today I'm going to be chatting about the books I have read most recently, as well as kind of going over my TBR plan for the next month or so. So get your hair off your face and let's do it! So hi, my name is Talia. I like to read books, I like to wear bandanas, and I am so happy you are here today. Thank you. In particular, thank you to the people that are subscribing to my channel. As a new booktuber, it is just really exciting every time you get a new subscriber. Like starting from 0 and building up to I think I'm at 40 now is just really exciting. So thank you for subscribing to my channel. And if you haven't yet, please subscribe to my channel knowing that you will bring a little bit of joy to my life. So anyways, we're gonna talk about the books I have read most recently first, and then we'll talk about the plan going forward. So first, let's talk about this one. No, let's talk about this one first. So Homegoing by Yaa Gyasi. I finished this book. This was a 4.5 star for me. So this book follows two half-sisters born in Ghana in the 18th century. So we have two half-sisters. They're born into different villages in Ghana, so they do not know each other. One ends up marrying an Englishman and going to live in the castle with him as his wife. And the other is captured and sold into slavery and ends up living for a portion of time in the dungeon in the same castle. So this book reads a lot like short stories. Like the first chapter is the woman who marries the Englishman, and then the second chapter is the other sister, and then it kind of goes back and forth down each generation. So the next one is like the son and the daughter, and then the grandson and the granddaughter. It goes all the way down like 4, 5, 6 generations. I can't remember exactly how many, but it just keeps going down. Really well done. At times I wanted a little bit more from each story. I was like, oh, I want to know what happens. But you always get bits and pieces when you get back to the next generation of like what happened. I would say this is a very hard read. It tackles a lot of difficult topics. Slavery was not pretty. It was, and this book doesn't sugarcoat any of the things that happened on both sides, really. Both sides of this journey are not happy journeys. I would say that the only reason I did give it 4.5 stars instead of 5 is that I felt like the content, okay, so I don't love like graphic content, particularly graphic sexual content. And I understand in books like this that sometimes it's necessary. And sometimes when you're reading that kind of content as it relates to slavery and the way people had to just survive, having that in books can make an impact and make you feel that it's supposed to make you feel. I did feel when it got to the end, some of the later generations, I felt like, and it was not a lot, it was not like pages and pages of things. I just felt like a couple times I was like, did that really need to be in there? Like, did that like help the story at all, or was it kind of a distraction? So that was just my opinion. So yeah, definitely inspirational, definitely recommend, with the exception of some trigger warnings for sure. Next, much lighter, I read Percy Jackson and the Olympians by Riordan. I loved this. It was so lighthearted. It was just a fun middle grade read. So Percy Jackson is a kid who is kind of troubled, has been kicked out of like every school that he's been to, and just has a really hard time making friends, has a really hard time following rules. And eventually he makes his way into this special school, and he doesn't really know why he's there, but then he realizes he is there because he is the son of one of the gods. So then he is sent on a quest to find Zeus's lightning bolt because the gods think that he has stolen it. So he makes a couple friends, goes on this crazy adventure to try to find it. It's just action-packed, super quick, easy to read, and just really fun. There's a few more books in the series that I'll definitely be picking up for some middle grade fantasy reading for sure. Okay, now we have to talk about my book club read for the month. It was Outlander by Diana. I still don't know her last name. It was Outlander. I know this is probably not going to be a popular opinion, but I did not like it at all. And this series has been around since the early 90s, I believe, and it has a whole series of shows, like big, thick books, like very popular. And let me tell you, I did not like it. A couple of different reasons. First, I felt, so the premise of this book is you have Claire, and she is living in mid-1900s, and one day she has a husband named Frank, and one day Claire, like, they find this like circle of rocks, like kind of like a Stonehenge kind of thing, and she is somehow sucked into the rocks and sucked back into time into the mid-1700s, so pretty much 200 years prior to where she was living. So I think the premise for this is great. Because what do? Well, I'm here 200 years before. I know the history that's going to happen. Like, this book had so much potential. For me, I had a really hard time bonding with Claire. I felt like her reaction to being sucked back into time was very non-realistic. She had kind of, I didn't think the way she responded would have really happened. The urgency she had to try to like get back to where she was non-existent. I mean, there's a little bit, but it was kind of like the sense of urgency you have, like, oh, like, should I go schedule my doctor's appointment for this year, or should I just put it off a while? Like, oh, I'll just wait. And, you know, like, it was just like, have a sense of urgency, girl. Yeah, I couldn't connect with her at all. I thought she was just really boring. And then I felt like then the deal breaker for me was the graphic sexual content in the book. I just found it to be not what I like to read at all. I felt like it was unnecessary, and it went on for pages and pages and pages. And I tried, like, it was a book club book, so I tried to like skim and keep going. But the fact that I didn't like her character, I thought the story was just dragging on and on and on. And then the super graphic content that was in it, I just DNF'd it. Probably like 25%. And DNFing is okay, by the way. CriminOlly just did this great video about why we should DNF, and I loved it. This is kind of a realization I've had the past couple months. I don't have enough time to read books that I don't like to read. And there's plenty of books that I will like to read, so I'm gonna spend my time on those. So the next book, let's move into the books I'm gonna read next. The next book club book pick I am more excited about. I think it's gonna go better than Outlander. So the pick for this month is American Dirt by Jeanine Cummins. So this book is about a woman and her family who lives in Acapulco, Mexico. And she owns a small bookstore, and her husband is a journalist, and they are just living their normal lives. One day, Jeanine has a man come into her bookstore to buy a couple of books, and he ends up being the head of the drug cartel in that city. And she kind of has this connection with him. He buys a couple of books that she really likes, like some of her favorites, and they have this kind of connection. But then I guess her husband writes like an article about this guy, this head of this drug cartel, which I'm assuming is not very flattering, because then she and her husband, and I think there's a son too. I might be making that up, but I think there's a child as well. They are forced to flee, and they head north, I think across the border into the United States. So that's what this book is about. So I have really high hopes for this one. I think it should be much better than the last one. Next, I'm going to read Scythe. I have had my eye on this one for a while. It was in my most recent book haul, and I'm really excited to pick this one up. This is about, so it's kind of a society where they have conquered death. So you don't die from getting sick anymore. There's like cures for anytime you get hurt or anytime something goes wrong. We've conquered death. There's nothing that can kill you, except the population is out of control. So there's these people called Scythes who are designated to choose people to eliminate from society. So this book follows two teenagers who are nominated to be Scythes. They don't want to be, but they have to be. So it's about them learning how to do this job. So this is like not a book I think I typically would have picked up, but it has been recommended by quite a few booktubers that I've watched, who I trust their opinions. So I'm excited to read this and see how it goes. Also, we're gonna read A Pinch of Magic because I've just been excited for this book since I heard about it. The cover is beautiful. It's middle grade, so it should be super easy to get through. Should be more lighthearted than the other books I have. This book is about 3 sisters. They are trapped by an ancient curse, and there's like 3 mysterious objects that they're using, and they're trying to escape this curse. So that I will be reading as well. That should keep me busy. Also, right now, I'm like knee deep in short stories for Short Story Readathon. I will link my video about that above as well. This side? Let's say this side, and if it's over there, oh well. I have been reading a lot of short stories. I've decided to fill my bingo card. I have stories picked for every single prompt. So I've pretty much been working on reading at least 1 a day so I can get through by the end of May. I also have a trip coming up. So I should be able to get some of these books read on that trip because I am not gonna lug my, I don't know if you can see my all these short story books back here, but I have a lot of short story books and I'm not gonna lug them all on the plane. So yeah, that's what's going on here in my life. I think that's all I have to say for today. I hope you are doing well wherever you are. I hope you have take some time today to read a good book or 2. And if you are having a bad hair day, just wear a bandana. Bye.